Prayer is more than reciting words. It is about connecting with the divine. The Gemara, the vast compendium of Jewish law and law, teaches us that true prayer requires directing our hearts to heaven. It is about focusing our minds on the divine presence. We must quiet our thoughts and still our souls. This allows us to truly connect with God. Imagine a radio receiver. It must be tuned to the right frequency to receive the broadcast. Similarly, our hearts must be tuned to God to receive His blessings. This requires effort. We live in a world filled with distractions, yet through focus and intention, we can create a space for prayer in our lives. The act of prayer is a journey inward. It is about looking inside ourselves to find that spark of divinity within. As we turn our hearts to heaven, we acknowledge God's presence in our lives. We recognize that He is the source of all goodness and blessing. This turning inward is not a retreat from the world. Rather, it is a preparation to re-engage with the world with renewed purpose and meaning. Through prayer, we connect with the source of our being. We are then empowered to live lives of purpose and meaning. Rabbi Aqiva, a renowned sage of the Talmudic era, exemplified the balance between public and private prayer. He was known to pray briefly in public. This was to avoid ostentation. He did not want to appear more righteous than others. However, in private, Rabbi Aqiva's prayers were lengthy and heartfelt. This duality teaches us a valuable lesson. There is a time and place for everything. Public prayer serves a different purpose than private prayer. In public, we pray as a community. We express our shared faith and solidarity. In private, we are free to pour out our hearts to God without reservation. Rabbi Aqiva's practice reminds us that true piety lies not in outward appearances, but in the depths of our hearts. It is in the quiet moments of communion with God that our souls are nourished and our spirits renewed. The Gemara instructs us to pray in a room with windows. This is not merely a practical consideration, it is a symbolic act. When we look up at the sky, we are reminded of God's infinite presence. The vastness of the heavens inspires awe and humility. Furthermore, we are commanded to face Jerusalem during prayer. Jerusalem is the spiritual center of the Jewish people. It is the place where our ancestors worshipped. It is the site of the Holy Temple, a place of divine revelation. By facing Jerusalem, we align ourselves with the spiritual aspirations of our people throughout the ages. We acknowledge the unbroken chain of tradition that connects us to our past and guides us toward our future. The Gemara teaches that prayer should be silent. This may seem counterintuitive. After all, we often associate prayer with spoken words. However, silent prayer encourages deeper concentration. It allows us to listen to the whispers of our hearts. When we pray silently, we move beyond the limitations of language. We enter into a realm of pure communication with the divine. Our thoughts become our prayers. Our desires become our petitions. This silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of something deeper, the still, small voice of God whispering within our souls. The order of prayer is significant. The Gemara emphasizes that we should begin with praise. We acknowledge God's greatness and goodness. Only then do we present our personal petitions. This order reflects a fundamental truth about our relationship with God. We approach Him not as demanding consumers, but as grateful beneficiaries of His boundless love and mercy. We recognize that everything we have is a gift from Him. By beginning with praise, we cultivate an attitude of gratitude. This allows us to approach our own needs with humility and perspective. The story of Hannah, found in the book of Samuel, provides a powerful illustration of the principles of prayer. Hannah was barren and desperately yearned for a child. She went to the temple to pray. Her prayer was silent, her lips moving, but no sound emerging. Eli, the high priest, saw her and mistook her silent prayer for drunkenness. He rebuked her. Hannah, however, gently corrected him. She explained that she was simply pouring out her heart to God. Hannah's story teaches us the importance of articulating our prayers, even if only silently. By forming the words in our minds, we give shape and clarity to our thoughts and emotions. Eli's initial judgment of Hannah highlights another important aspect of prayer. It should not be done in a state of intoxication. Prayer requires a clear mind and a focused heart. When we are under the influence of substances, our judgment is clouded. We are unable to fully connect with the divine. Eli's misunderstanding also reminds us that prayer is a deeply personal experience. It is between an individual and God. Others may not always understand our prayers or the depths of our emotions. However, that should not deter us from seeking solace and guidance from the divine. Hannah's silent prayer, though misunderstood at first, was ultimately answered. She gave birth to a son, Samuel, who became a great prophet. This demonstrates the power of articulating our prayers, even if only in the silence of our hearts. By forming the words, even if unspoken, we give shape and direction to our yearnings. We clarify our needs and desires before God. This act of articulation, even in silence, helps us to connect with the divine on a deeper level. Hannah's story serves as a source of hope and inspiration for all who pray. It reminds us that God hears the silent cries of our hearts. The teachings of the Gemara about prayer point to a central theme: intention. True prayer is not about the outward form, but about the inward disposition. It is about directing our hearts to heaven, focusing our minds on the divine, and approaching God with humility and gratitude. Whether we pray in public or private, whether we face Jerusalem or simply look up at the sky, the essence of prayer lies in the sincerity of our hearts and the purity of our intentions. When we pray with intention, we open ourselves to God's presence in our lives. We invite His blessings into our hearts and homes. May our prayers be a source of strength and solace, guiding us toward lives of meaning and purpose.